Now, yesterday the Cabinet approved the drafting of legislation to ban trade in goods from occupied Palestinian territories.
Senator Francis Blacken, Head of Advocacy and Policy at Christian Aid Ireland, Conor O'Neill, first proposed the bill in 2018 and they both join us now. Thank you both so much for being here. We know that this is a long fought battle for you both to try to get this going. But Conor, you were the first, you went to the Senator 8 years ago to talk about this. Tell us about the bill, the Occupied Territories Bill.
Well, I think there's a big team of people who've been working behind this. In particular, I want to point to a brilliant solicitor named Jerry Liston. A load of organisations we wanted to do something tangible, something solid. And I think we've been very lucky that we've had a champion in Leinster House, in Francis, who tabled the legislation in 2018, and I think it's fair to say hasn't given up on it. But really what the bill is about doing is matching our words with action. So we have seen for decades the Irish government and the European Union rightly saying that the settlements that have spread across the Palestinian West Bank are totally illegal and they're wrong. But on the contrary, we've actually been helping to sustain them, providing them with economic support and trading with them. In its essence, the bill is about ending that. It's about saying that no Irish financial or economic support will go to those settlements. And I think it's a big, big step that the government seems to be finally moving in that direction.
And for you, Senator, I mean, we're all seeing it on our TV screens for the last year and a half, but this was brought to you back in 2018. Why were you so passionate about it back then?
Well, I suppose I've always been an activist for Palestine, and when I got elected into Shanadair and I was asked to become the chair of Friends of Palestine, and that's how I was introduced to Sadaka and Jerry, and Conor was working with me at the time. So that's what they came to me with the bill. I thought it was fantastic idea. At the time we had a minority government. We almost got it passed and then there was an election called. So look, that was 7 years ago. We're now in a place where yesterday, the bill was brought to Cabinet. We're waiting for the heads of bill to go to we're hoping then it'll go to pre-leg scrutiny in the committee. And
it did seem, because obviously when the election took place, people were talking about this and then it looked like it was parked, like according to the Taoiseach, but clearly things have changed. In Ireland, this country has been against Israel's actions in Gaza for a long time and have stated so, but finally the world seems to be moving a different way. This isn't going to be, it's not a lot of money. We're talking about dates, we're talking about fruit and things like that. It's going to be, what, €1 million, I suppose. But symbolically it matters, right?
Oh, this is huge. It's absolutely huge because there has been absolutely no consequences to what Israel are doing in the West Bank in Gaza. I mean, it's outrageous what we're seeing live. We're seeing a live genocide happening in Gaza at the moment, and the world is watching and nobody is doing anything about it. And this is one consequence, it's one small step towards real action that Ireland is going to take, and we have no doubt about it that other countries will follow suit. I feel quite strongly about that. We've been to Brussels a couple of weeks ago. We met with different parliamentarians from different countries. They are watching what we are doing, and yesterday was huge. That first step where it's gone to the Cabinet now, and hopefully now we'll get it into pre-leg as soon as possible.
This legislation is about banning of goods. You would like to see the ban of services as well. Explain to me more about that, Conor.
Yeah, this is crucially important. So last year, the International Court of Justice, which is effectively the world court, the top court in the whole UN system, they looked at the situation in Palestine and they looked at international law and they said the occupation is illegal, the settlements that have been built on Palestinian land are illegal, but crucially all countries are obliged not to provide them with any support. That means trading with them. And they didn't, when they say trade, they don't split that in half into physical goods like dates or oranges on the one hand, and then intangible services like tech or IT on the other. Every euro of support, whether you're buying a box of dates, or whether you're doing something online, it matters just as much. And we have seen, for example, companies like Airbnb listing settlement homes for rental on their platforms. And I think the situation this morning is that the Irish government and the European Union rightly, they criticise the theft of Palestinian farmland, but then the dates and olives stolen are shipped and sold on supermarket shelves here and across the EU. They criticise the theft of a Palestinian home, but then I can incredibly go on my laptop and log on to Airbnb.ie and book to take a son holiday there.
It just, the mind doesn't compute what's happening in Gaza. The scenes that we're seeing, like yesterday, the thousands of people that ran to try to get some food when finally a little bit of aid came in from a very controversial agency. If we could see the map in relation to what's going on here, because we're talking about the West Bank, right? So, Conor, when we're talking about this, can you explain to me, if anyone's seen Louis Theroux, by the Settlers by Louis Theroux,
exactly.
Quite literally, Israelis are going in and kicking Palestinians out of their homes, out of their land. That is what is happening.
Yeah, I think for a sense of the scale, if you can see the map, you'll often hear politicians talking about a two-state solution. That's the Irish government's position, the European Union position. And you have the State of Israel here on the left-hand side and the occupied Palestinian territories here on the right. It's, broadly speaking, that large purple or lilac area. The orange area, the dots you can see then, or the splodges you can see, are the areas where the Israeli government has supported the movement of almost 750,000 people onto that occupied Palestinian territory in settlements. And I think that Louis Theroux documentary is, if you want to know what's really happening in the West Bank, it gives such a clear picture. Families are moved off their home, their properties are seized. And again, we say that this is illegal, but we've never really been willing to go beyond that kind of limit of rhetorical condemnation and saying we're going to put our money where our mouth is and we're going to ensure that no Irish commercial activity is supporting this in any way.
Senator, just finally, we all know this is the right thing to do, but there are no other countries doing this, particularly in the EU. Ireland will be leading on this. Given the US and Israel, I suppose, relationship and what is going on in the world with tariffs and the fear, particularly for Ireland with the likes of pharma and tech, is now the right time to be leading in something like this?
Well, firstly, let me say, Trump is going to do what Trump is going to do regardless of this legislation. I have no doubt about that. You know, he has already brought in the tariffs. The other side of this is about people's lives. This is about, do we look at what's happening in Gaza and in the West Bank, looking at saving lives here, doing something that's really tangible, that we can take action and profit. I mean, really, we have to look at the human rights of all of this and saving lives and helping people. You know, it's the humanitarian side of things. That's what we're looking at here. And Ireland can lead out on this. And as I said...
And do you think other countries will follow?
I have no doubt. Like, we met with those parliamentarians a couple of weeks ago. They've already said, we are watching and we will be contacting them as soon as is possible to let them know that Ireland is leading out on this. But this is about doing the right thing. We have to do the right thing. And I believe, just like back in the 80s with apartheid South Africa, Ireland led out on it, and we can do the same here.
To get in contact, it's 0896 111 111 and what's happening. Of course, the bill has gone to Cabinet. It looks like it's moving forward and it's absolutely fantastic. While we have you here, how are your decorating skills for a big house?
Listen,
the presidency.
That's just a complete and utter rumour.
You were a favourite.
I know. I was asked back in January, would I be open for the conversation? And all I said was yes. And there's been no more conversation since. So I doubt very much if I'll be running for presidency.
Have you been asked, or what? How does that?
It was suggested to me by a couple of the smaller parties. Would I be open for the conversation? And all I said was yes. I was open with the conversation, but there has been no other conversation since. So I've let it go. You know, it's literally
she's Elsa. She's letting it go.
That have gone like wildfire.
Do you have dogs? You have dogs? You have dogs? She's not
Bit
going
of redecorating, maybe.
She doesn't. It is incredible what you've done. Fair play. It's been long fought work from both of you, Senator Francis Black and Conor O'Neill, Head of Policy at Christian Aid Ireland. Thank you both so much for coming.
Thanks,
we really appreciate it.
Thank you.